James, it's Cristiano Ronaldo's world. We're just living in it, right? It's always been that way. Most followed man on Instagram, adoring fans the world over. Even people who don't like football know who Cristiano Ronaldo is, love Cristiano Ronaldo. But he's had a bit of a chat with Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan, by the way, who's had a chat with Andrew Tate recently, who's had a chat with Ye West recently. Cristiano Ronaldo's not putting himself in with like the greatest of company right now with those two names before him being interviewed by Piers Morgan. But there's a big interview published by The Sun. It was for Talk TV, and a few points were raised. I think these are all things, James, that have been bubbling behind the surfaces bubbling under the surface for a little while. But he's actually now come out and just said them, which is obviously a tactical move on his part. Main kind of bullet points: people at the club are trying to force him out. There's been no evolution, that's a quote, no evolution at the club from the time since Sir Alex Ferguson's departure in 2013. Even the Manchester United ex-Manchester United manager Sir Alex said the club are not on the path they deserve to be. The club showed a lack of empathy when his young daughter was hospitalised in early July. He'd never heard of Ralph Rangnick before. He did not know why his former teammate Wayne Rooney had criticised him, adding that he probably did because he finished his career early and I'm still playing. James, you can dive into each of those little details, can't you? We can start talking about people at the club trying to force him out. We can talk about never having heard of Ralph Rangnick. They're all kind of interesting, funny, a lot of them conversation topics. But I just want to talk to you about the overall spirit here and feeling towards Manchester United from the Manchester United fan base, from the club to him, from him to the club. How do you see this all playing out here? And who's on the right side? Who's going to be on the right side of history here?
I feel like it's easy to say, oh, Ronaldo's toxic, he's this, he's that, he's letting the fans down, you either die a hero or live to see yourself become the villain, and that's what it kind of feels like with Cristiano Ronaldo right now. But I feel like with this interview, there's a little bit of truth in there. Like, football fans are very fickle. A few results here or there, and everything's good again. United are on the right path, and in like things like that. Where, Jack, you remember what it was like in the summer with the Glazers. You would remember like what it's like with the transfers not getting their targets. How many times Manchester United want players, didn't get it. People weren't sure about the signing of Christian Eriksen, which was a fantastic signing at the end, and like we said, it was going to be a good signing. But it's almost like people forget what gone on in the summer for Manchester United, and I've just moved on and be like, oh, Erik Ten Hag got it, the Glazers got it. And I can understand where Cristiano Ronaldo feels like, because Jack, let's be truthfully honest, last season, he was amazing for Manchester United. And it's almost like people forget what he did last season. But I do get it. Football don't wait for anybody. Football's about what you did for me lately. And Jack, let's be truthfully honest, the guy's turning 38. Ronaldo has this complex in his head where he still thinks he's the player he was. He isn't. He doesn't move the same. Yeah, he can't go past players the same. And to a certain fact, the best thing he does, jump, his aerial juice. He doesn't do that the same. And he feels that he's still the man, when, let's be truthfully honest, he isn't. And to me, when I look at the whole scenario, it's very, very, very messy. But I can see it from Ronaldo's point of view. I can also see it from Manchester United's point of view. But I also think that football fans should just look at it dead center in the middle, because it's not just, oh, Ronaldo's ego, this and that. Because Jack, he mentioned things about Manchester United not evolving as a football club. I was hearing Gary Neville at the time when he was talking about Manchester United, said that Old Trafford hasn't been touched for nearly 20 years. Bits of the stadium's rotten and things like that. Listen, this is not like speculation. This is fact, Jack. United hasn't evolved as a football club.
We live in a very binary time. You're either pro-life or you're pro-abortion. One or the other. You can't have anything in between. You're either a Democrat or you're a Republican. You're Labour or you're Tory. It's one thing or another. And very, very rarely is life that simple. You're not 0 or 1. You're usually somewhere in between. You're in that grey area, right? And again, I tend to agree with you. There's some of the stuff in there that Cristiano Ronaldo has said, which I go, yeah, I think you're right. I absolutely agree. but I think he has to shoulder a lot of blame and responsibility here. Naivety, James, absolute naivety. He talks about wanting change and evolution and for the club to be different. Why does spending loads of money, in terms of wages, that is, to bring in a 37-year-old striker who used to play for the club like 10 plus years ago, does that scream evolution, moving on, something different? I also think, look at him coming to the club. He was set to join Manchester City. That was going to be the crowning achievement, to win a Champions League or to retain a Premier League or anything like this. Manchester United said, we can't let Cristiano Ronaldo join Manchester City, so they signed him for Manchester United. It wasn't for sporting reasons. It was more for childish reasons of, we need to play keep away with this player to our rivals, right? Cristiano Ronaldo needs to shoulder some of the naivety there. You weren't brought to the club because they thought you'd be a good fit and you were, going to be the face of the project going forward. You were brought in to stop another team from doing well. That's not the right circumstances to be brought in by. I think my issue going forward, though, James, as much as some of his comments are absolutely spot on, Ronaldo, some of his comments here about no respect for Erik ten Hag. I don't have respect for him because he doesn't show respect for me. If you don't have respect for me, I'm never going to have respect for you. Well, I think it's well documented at this point, leaving games early, going down the touchline, all this stuff. He's already been punished and it's been talked about behind closed doors. I think this is probably the best thing that Erik ten Hag could have hoped for. Erik ten Hag now, James, do you know when the Premier League returns? It's the 23rd of December. You're 7 days, a week, just over a week away from the January transfer window. We can have a whole World Cup of Erik ten Hag not worrying about Cristiano Ronaldo while he's with Portugal, and you can be the whole time working in the background, either end his contract, mutual agreement to end his contract, which will cost them a lot of money, or figure out a club who's willing to take him in January. I think to a certain extent, Erik ten Hag's looking at that and being like, right, he's gone nuclear here, and now we can go nuclear ourselves and get him out of the club and move him on. Because James, as it comes to Erik ten Hag, as it comes to Manchester United, I'm taking Anthony Martial over Cristiano Ronaldo at this point in Ronaldo's career. I'm taking Rashford. Garnacho seems to have some upside. I just think that there's a kind of a natural end point here coming in January, or maybe even beforehand, and Ronaldo's lit that fuse.
Yeah, Jack. Listen, I do agree. I feel like ultimately Ronaldo. I'm never gonna question what happened with his daughter. That's not for me to That's not for me to talk about. But I think it was clear at the start he wanted to play Champions League football. He didn't get to play Champions League football, and he tried to find his way out. There's many speculation about teams not coming in for him. There's also speculation that Manchester United wanted to keep him. So I don't know where this is coming from, because it's disrespect on Manchester United's part if there was a team in from of like Cristiano Ronaldo. And let's be truthfully honest, Ten Hag, who we can clearly see didn't really have Ronaldo in his true plans in the starting 11 week in and week out. And Manchester United kind of knew that. The fact that they didn't let Ronaldo go,
it's not a player he asked for, though. It's not a player he asked for, though. We see it all the time, don't we? Like, new manager comes in, it's not really my guy, and then eventually there's a parting of ways. It's, it's common, isn't it?
Another interesting thing, Jack, is the Rooney comments. And yeah, it's kind of funny. It's kind of like, Ronaldo's making fun of Rooney. Rooney comments, like, I get it, and the first thing I say to that, Jack, fair play to Rooney for standing up to Ronaldo, but I find it a little bit hypocritical. Because, Jack, if I remember on a number of occasions when Rooney was playing for Manchester United, he asked to leave. And one of the times he asked to leave to go to Man City.
Well, and there was one,
he complained about...
There was Chelsea in there too. That was another rival.
Exactly. He complained about he didn't like where the club was going. And, Jack, this wasn't this wasn't like at the end of the season. Jack, this was midway through a season. They're like this will happen. This will derail the football club. But United will come around. He'll get his money or whatever, and like they kind of go from there. So the fact that he's coming for Ronaldo when he did the same thing on a number of occasions as a Manchester United player, I find a little bit hypocritical. But again, I guess Rooney and Ronaldo, they've always had this weird little loggerhead thing.
There's a good rivalry. The reason why I think they were so good together is they were always trying to outdo one another. How many times have we seen now where people on the same team want that top dog spot, and then it brings the best out of one another, A couple of extra kind of comments to round out this story. Jermaine Genius and Jermaine Defoe and I've talked about, Jamie Carragher's talked about, and I think all three of them agree, this is his version of the truth. right, this is we're not going to get the Erik ten Hag in a room to discuss it openly. We're not going to get any of the executives to in a room and discuss it openly with Piers Morgan. It's not going to happen. This is his version of the truth. Frustrated player, it's a distraction, all this kind of stuff. And I think Jamie Carragher said it best. And James, you mentioned this earlier. 99% of United fans will be on the side of Erik ten Hag, which shows how badly Ronaldo has handled this. That's a quote from Jamie Carragher. And look, I tend to agree. This Manchester United team is trending in the right direction. I'm not saying we're there yet, but it's trending in the right direction for Erik ten Hag. And with the comments about not having heard of Ralf Rangnick, Cristiano, I don't know what to tell you. You focus on playing football. You know, Ralf Rangnick has been involved in high level football for a very, very long time and is within the football community a well respected part of it. That to me just feels like a cheap dig at somebody who's no longer at the club.
But Jack, I can understand where he's come from there, because we were happy with the appointment. But if you're Cristiano Ronaldo, you want your team to show a big statement and like appoint a manager with pedigree, so they can compete for the rest of the season. By Manchester United kind of signing Erik ten Hag, it felt like they were almost giving up on the season. Where a player of like Cristiano Ronaldo's ilk, he doesn't want to give up on the season because he knows that it's coming to an end. And the fact that they did that, it was almost like, guys, what is this? Like, I want to, like, we're in the Champions League. Let's try and win the Champions League. We're in the FA Cup. Let's try and get top four. And that appointment to Ronaldo at the time must have been like, what's going on here? And yeah, it's...
Guys, let us know your thoughts in the comments. Drop a like on the video if you like what you've seen. Hit that subscribe button too. But yeah, James, look, I think realistically this is a blessing in disguise for Manchester United. And James, you know what? Maybe a blessing in disguise for Cristiano Ronaldo. Guys, let us know your thoughts. Drop it in the comments. And until next time, we'll see you.